Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Genesis class, live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. Always a joy to be in this class, joined by many people from around the globe. We've got our friends Angela and Mike and Collins over in the UK, our friend Bart over in Austria, and others will be joining us in the Zoom meeting. But let's just jump right in and see how Rabbi Goldberg's doing today. Shalom, Rabbi Goldberg. We see you got a nice new green screen, so we're going to turn the class over to you and let you take it from here.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everything is fine with everybody here. I'm from Jerusalem. Today I'm speaking from Jerusalem. No, it's like always. Yes, you're right. I have a green screen, so you will be able to put everything in the background, whatever is good for you. Good to see everybody from England, from India. We have Jacobi is from India, also good. It's very late there in India. I think it's 1 o'clock at night, or maybe even 2 o'clock at night. We're going to have a visit in India. There are something like 25 or 30 communities there. We're going to be in 3-4 places, and something like 200 people that are going to do the pledge in front of us, except for the others who did it already for themselves. Yeah, we are very excited. By the way, we're working hard also to have some, I will say, blessings from the foreign ministry. So let's wait with this. When I have also a good news about this, I will say that also. In general, I will say that things are going, progressing on with a lot of things. We want, you know what, I will wait a bit and you will see the things and not only hear about them. I will say one more thing. Last week, the meeting that we had last week, I sent it also to the public on the email, and I tried to summarize it in a few words. And I think everything will go in the right way. So we'll do the same thing also for this meeting. Those essential ideas, very, I will say, very, very important things. And this is why I think that we must bring it to maximum knowledge of people so they will know how the mindset of the Hebrew people is working. And it's working differently than the rest of the world. Okay, it's working differently, and we need to know that, and we need to understand what's happening. So let's say now time came so we can go inside, diving inside. We said, or we asked to learn or to read a bit more in the Kuzari. We're going to learn tonight. I must give some introduction for that. We're going to learn tonight one of the most essential points of the Kuzari, of Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, on one side. On the other side, a lot of people are misunderstanding what the Kuzari is saying. And why I'm saying that? Because before we will start, I must mention something very important. If I will ask a monkey, the monkey that is climbing in the in the zoo, if I will take blood from monkey and I will try to put it to a man that got injured, God forbidden, it won't work. The blood of the monkey as an animal won't be part of the human body. But there isn't any problem to take blood from Jewish person and to put it in a non-Jewish person, or vice versa, to take blood from a non-Jewish person and to put it into a Jewish person, because we are all human. And the meaning of this is there isn't any racism in Judaism. Judaism is not racism. We acknowledge that we are all human. Therefore, when a monkey would like to do conversion to Judaism, it's impossible. But when a non-Jewish person would like to do conversion to Judaism, this is possible. And the meaning of this, the realization of this, is that we are all human. So the question is, what exactly is the difference between the Jewish and the non-Jewish people, the Hebrew people and the non-Hebrew people? And why this is important? Because along history, one of the things that we had in our behavior, I will say in our halachic behavior, is to be in this differentiation, not to get married one with each other, not to eat together, one with each other, not to drink the wine of non-Jewish people. All those things we kept very strongly along the history, and especially along the history of the exile that we were. So on one side, we kept to stay different, okay, in the environment where we were living in. On the other side, we are not racism. And people who wanted to converted. People in the Jewish community who wanted to go out, after all, they went out if they wanted to do that. So what exactly is the difference, and why we are so much, I will say, defining this difference? And this is what we're going to learn tonight. And it's a very essential part on one side, and it's a very important one on the other side, and we need to learn it right. Unfortunately, I'm saying again, unfortunately, there are some Hebrew people who learned the text that we're going to read now, and they thought to themselves that the Hebrew people are different. It's not true, okay? We are all on the side, I will say, of the physical side. We are the same, all of us. So after I did all of this introduction, we can go inside and start to learn the text itself. The text is being, I will say, based on the understanding of the old philosophers of this world. Aristotle, even before him, we had Aristotle, we had Plato, we had all the big philosophers, and they defined in this world few different, I will say, levels in this world, okay? And this is what we're going to see. And it starts, we're starting in 26, and we're going to read it step by step. First of all, to understand what is written down, and then we will explain a bit more what, in a profound way, what exactly is written down here when we will compare this. So please, Dan, read from 26.
26, Al-Kuzari asks, if this be so, then your belief is confined to yourself.
And now, just a moment, let's remind ourselves, when he asked him what you believe in, the answer wasn't, I believe in God who created heaven and earth. The answer was, I believe in God who took me out from Egypt. I believe in God who did to me a lot of miracles. I believe in God who brought me to the Hebrew land. And he explained to him that if he will start with, I believe in God who created the heaven and earth, we will have a lot of arguments. But when I'm saying that I believe in God that took me out from Egypt and guiding me along history, so this is something that I have no, he also told me that he created the world, but I have no doubts about him. He is speaking with me, and I'm committed to him because he took me out from Egypt. But the understanding of us, or the outcome of this logic, is that the belief is only for us because God took only the Hebrew people from Egypt. He didn't took the Norveg, how do you say it? Norveg people from Egypt. He didn't took the English people from Egypt. He didn't took the Canadian people from Egypt. So this for Israel, it's only to the Hebrew people. So please see what in 27, what exactly is answering him.
27, the rabbi responds, yes, but any Gentile who joins us unconditionally shares our good fortune, without, however, being quite equal to us. If the law were binding on us only because God created us, the white and the black man would be equal, since he created them all. But the law was given to us because he led us out of Egypt and remained attached to us because we are the pick of mankind.
We're starting to hear something now, because I already gave introduction. We know that even though he's saying this, he is not speaking racism. So we need to understand what exactly is the peak of mankind. It's not racism, okay? So don't get confused. Like a lot of people, also from the Hebrew people, a lot of people are confused when they're learning this. Okay, saying to you, I taught this thing a lot of times, and we have this confusion. He's not speaking racism. So we need to understand. But this is exactly what in 28 is asking him. Okay, you a bit weird with me. On one side, you're telling me logic things. On the other side, you're telling me all sorts of the ideas that I can't adjust them. And it's very weird. You're saying to me that I'm right, that it's only for you, it's not for everybody. And this is what he's saying in 28, please.
28, El Kuzari says, Jew, I see thee quite altered, and thy words are poor after having been so pleasant.
Read until 32. Okay, let's read together until 32.
29, the rabbi responds, poor or pleasant, give me your attention and let me express myself more fully. El Kuzari, say what you wilt. 31, the rabbi.
Now we're starting to build up, I will say, the logic of what exactly the meaning of the verse that is saying that we are going to be unique when we are comparing us to the rest of the world. So let's go step by step, please. 31.
31. The laws of nature comprise nurture, growth, and propagation, with their powers and all conditions attached thereto. This is particularly the case with plants and animals, to the exclusion of earth, stones, metals, and elements.
So when we're speaking about earth, stones, metal, and elements, we're speaking about things that are not alive. They're not getting any growth. They're not getting any continuous one from each other. So the first level that we have is the earth, stones, metal, and elements. Then we have the other levels. So let's, first of all, 32. Please read number 32.
El Kuzari says, this is a maxim which requires explanation, though it be true.
So we said here 3 different levels. The earth and stones and the metal and elements is one thing. We have the growth of the animals and we have the growth of the plants. Plants is something else, when someone is very naughty in the kindergarten. So she is telling him, the watchkeeper there, she is telling him, stand on the side, don't move like the plants. Okay, reduces her from one part from not being animal to become a plant. So we have the plants. So we have the earth, stones, metal, and elements. We have the plants that are starting to grow, and then we have the animals. And let's continue on. 33, please.
33, the rabbi says, as regards the soul, it is given to all animated beings. The result is movement, will, power, external as well as internal senses, and such like.
Okay, so the animals are going one step ahead, where they have already sense, they have also free will. We know a lot of examples, for example, of dogs who are willing to risk their life for the masters. So this is already something that it's a bit more, it's a bit the free will that they have. Okay, people will say that they are chipped like that. They need to do that. It's not like always, but they're doing it. So we're starting to speak about another level. So let's go and continue on to the level of the humankind.
El Kuzari says, this too cannot be contradicted. The rabbi responds, intellect is man's birthright above all living beings. This leads to the development of his faculties, his home, his country, from which arise administrative and regulative laws. El Kuzari says this is also true.
Okay, so man is something a bit one level ahead. The level ahead is he's managing to go out from the nature and to build up communities, to build up countries, to build up cities, to go out from the nature. Today, in the modern world, people don't even know from where the milk is coming. Unless we're showing them in the cartoons or we're showing them, somewhere. Ask the young kids, from where do we have the milk? From the supermarket, No, the milk is coming from the cow. There are people who are waking up, every 7 hours to dress the cows, to bring us milk, with all of the machines that we have today. A lot of things that we lost. From where do we have the bread? How much work do we need to put inside the wheat until the wheat is growing up, and then to have from the wheat the powder, the flour, so we can organize food. People don't know those things today, or almost don't know. We know them, okay, but we're not dealing with them. If a few hundred years ago, a lot of the people were working in the fields. Today, we're speaking that it's less than 10% all over the world that are working in the fields to bring the food that we have today. And the food is enough for the world, okay? So the main, I will say, uniqueness of the man with his reasons, with his brain, is that he is managing to go out from the nature world and to bring himself to a different structure of this world. And this is mainly the brain that he has. So he's saying this, by the way, he's saying this because this is what Aristotle said as to define the human being, okay? We also say that he knows how to speak, man, and everything else. We have more things, but mainly the brain that he has. Now we're going to the next level. And we need to read until 42. Let's read it straight ahead. And
after Al-Kuzari said this is also true, the rabbi responds, well, which is the next highest degree? And Al-Kuzari says, the degree of great sages, is what Al-Kuzari said. The rabbi says, I only mean that degree which separates those who occupy it from the physical point of view, as the plant is separated from inorganic things, or man from animals. The difference as to quantity, however, are endless, as they are only accidental and do not really form a degree.
Let's stop for a moment. It's very important to understand the difference of quality and difference of quantity. When you're saying great sages, you're saying basically we are on the same scale, but you know a little bit, and the philosophers are great sages. So, but we're still on the same scale. So it's only a question of quantity. It's not a question of quality. And the difference between the plants and the animals is different. It's a big jump, okay? The difference between the animals and the human being is a big jump. We never saw all the dogs are combining themselves together to live in one city, okay? And the difference between people who are more smart and less smart, it's not a big jump. It's only a very small thing. And this is where the Kuzari is falling to the trap. And let's see what he's answering. Please, in 40.
40 Al-Kuzari says, if this be so, then there is no degree above man among tangible things.
And now please read 41.
The rabbi responds, if we find a man who walks into the fire without hurt, or abstains from food for some time without starving, on whose face a light shines which the eye cannot bear, who is never ill nor ages until, having reached his life's natural end, who dies spontaneously just as a man retires to his couch to sleep on an appointed day and hour, equipped with the knowledge of what is hidden as to past and future, is such a degree not visibly distinguished from the ordinary human degree.
Before we will go inside, we will dive inside to this paragraph and start to understand what's happening here. I have a question. If I will ask all of you now, I'm closing for a moment the share. I'm stopping the share screen. And I have a question, and please answer me, okay? If I would ask you to describe me, Moses, in 2 words or 1 word, what the main thing that you're going to describe?
His actions.
This is his uniqueness, Moses, big Moses. What do you think will be the main point? Sorry?
He was the leader of the Jews from Egypt.
A big leader of the Jews taking them out from Egypt. Okay.
He was a prophet as well.
Who said? Who is saying? I can't hear.
So I said he was a prophet.
He was a prophet, right? Moses was a prophet. He was the biggest prophet that we have, right? This is how we need to describe Moses. It's true that he was a leader. It's true also what you said, Dan. I'm not saying not. that it's not true. But the main point of Moses, that he was a prophet. Now, let's go back to the screen that we shared, okay? And let's see. He is describing here Moses. He's describing Moses. But he's not saying even one word that Moses was a prophet. He's speaking about a lot of, when someone is going on the stage, when you want to go to some sort of I'll say, to see some sort of movie or show or something like that. So we bring him to the stage, we're doing a lot of effects, a lot of effects that everybody will say, wow, 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 he is coming. He is speaking here about all the effects around Moses, and he's not saying even once that Moses was a prophet. And he's speaking only about Moses here. Moses went inside to the fire. Moses decided when he's going to die. It's going to be not a few weeks, but it was already mentioned this parsha yesterday that we read. He's saying everything about Moses, that he was there for 40 days without eating, all the effects around Moses, but he's not speaking about Moses being a prophet. We need to understand, at this point, the Rabbi Yehuda Levi is speaking with a non-Jewish person. And a non-Jewish person doesn't have, I will say, the mindset that there is something that we can call it prophecy from God. So he's speaking about the effects, all the show around, all the outcome when someone is a prophet. What is happening to him? He doesn't need to eat. He's eating differently. He's living in a different dimension. He's speaking about all the outcome. He's not speaking about the main point of prophecy. But if we do have something like that, and this is what the Kuzari will answer in 42, please read 42.
Rabbi Lara online says, tell Rabbi that Moses was humble and loving of his people.
It's true. He was also very humble. This is why he was the biggest prophet. It's true. I'm not saying, but the main point of Moses that he was a prophet. He was the prophet that we have. He was so, and we showed this 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. We showed this inside that Moses, you can't change his prophecy, because we all saw in Mount Sinai that God nominated him, and he said to us, this is the last prophecy, you can't change it. We showed this in the Maimonides.
Don't add to it or take away from it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
so
42.
Yes, please.
42. Al-Kuzari says, this is indeed the divine and Sepharic degree, if it exists at all. It belongs to the province of the divine influence, but not to that of the intellectual human or natural world.
You see, with all of the effects that he showed him, we can start to speak about a divine and Sepharic degree, something else. And now we're starting to realize what is happening here. I need to explain a bit of things, and we're going to do this in a moment. But we need to read first 43, and then I will explain things, okay? Please read. It's not so long, but...
All right. The rabbi responds, these are some of the characteristics of the undoubted prophets through whom God made himself manifest, and who also made known that there is a God who guides them as he wishes according to their obedience or disobedience. He revealed to those prophets that which was hidden, and taught them how the world was created, or how the generations prior to the flood followed each other, and how they reckoned their descent from Adam. He described the flood and the origin of the 70 nations from Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, how the languages were split up, and where men sought their habitations, how arts arose, how they built cities, and the chronology from Adam up to this day.
First of all, suddenly, we're starting to speak also about Moses as a prophet. This is point number one. Now we can start to speak. When the Kuzari is saying this word, that we're speaking about a divine degree, so we can start to speak about some sort of the prophecies that is coming here, and the word prophecy is already inside this paragraph. There are more things that we need to learn inside. But I want for a moment to conclude things because I have a very big question. And the main question is, if we said here, basically, if I will conclude for a moment what is happening till here, in a moment we're going to go back to 43. But let's stop the share for a moment and let's discuss with ourselves. If I will ask you, all of you, okay, how many degrees are we speaking here? How many degrees? So we're starting with the first degree was the stones, right? The beginning, the earth, stone. The second degree was
the plants.
The plants. The third degree was animals, right? The fourth degree was
Human.
And the fifth degree was Moses. Moses is one. First of all, okay, Moses is only one person. Can we say that Moses, as a one person, he suddenly is representing a full degree? No, it was something unique. Suddenly came something here from the aliens, Moses, and came back. No one came ever to the stage of Moses. So first of all, I need to understand what exactly is happening here. Okay? I will explain in a moment. Second thing is that most of the people that are learning these parts are saying, there are 5 degrees. And they don't understand. They really don't understand. And they don't remember paragraph 95 of the Kuzari. We're not going to read it. It's a very long one. We will speak about this next week. Remember paragraph 95 next week. Okay? But I'll read it as a preparation for next week. Okay? But now let me explain 2 important things, and then we will read it also inside, because there is also a very important point that we need to answer, to mention with this thing. And I need also to show maybe something from the Bible also.
So to be clear, Rabbi, you're saying that the jump from human beings to Moses is as big of a leap as it is from grass to animals, or from animals to human beings.
No, I'm saying that before I'm going to explain what exactly is this jump, okay, we don't understand this jump because we're speaking about one person and we're not speaking about a new stage. So we need to understand what exactly Moses is representing, and then we will start to realize what is this new stage. And I'm going to surprise you all that we have only 4 stages, not 5. 4 stages. We need to understand exactly what happened. We need to understand what is happening here and what the Kuzari is saying here. Okay, go with me step by step with this. Let's go step by step with this thing. First of all, we need to realize a very important point. I was 7 years ago. I went to South Africa and I gave there a seminar for Noahide people. I was invited by a very high-rank bishop that left the Christianity, and they invited us. And Rabbi Sherki told me, go there. It's English. I don't know English well. Go speak there. And I was there for a few days. And in the first message that I gave there, I was with a lot of inside debates exactly what to say. But at the end, the first message that I said there, he concluded it after we spoke. And he said, look, this is the only old text that is not saying that the world started from us, but it's saying that the world started from one person, Adam, and everybody else came from him. Even his wife came from Adam. And this is what he said. It's his words, okay? Saying, when are we going to spread this message to all of the world that we are all brothers and we need to stop the fights? That's what he said to me. And I want to show you for a moment, if we are going, I will share the screen for a moment again. Just a moment. I'm going to share the screen. I want to show this for a moment. What is happening exactly with Adam? In the first, we're in Genesis chapter 1, straight ahead after God is creating Adam and Eve in the 6th day, in the day 6, okay? You see, and God said, let us make a man in our image. And God is creating man in his image. And please read verse number 28.
28. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and rule over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the sky and over all the beasts that tread upon the earth.
And now please read also 29.
29. And God said, behold, I have given you every seed bearing herb which is upon the surface of the entire earth, and every tree that has seed bearing fruit, it will be yours for food.
When God is creating Adam, the first thing that he is doing, and he didn't do that with anybody, any other things that he created, he is speaking with them, with Adam. He is speaking with Adam. The meaning of this is that Moses, okay, I will say it like that. Moses is just like Adam. And all of the human beings are supposed to be like Adam. What is the difference between the fifth dimension, or I will say it like that, between the human being in the fourth dimension and Moses in the fifth dimension? That it's not only that we have the reason or that we have the brain, but also there is also something that is coming from outside of us, God, who is speaking with us. It's only with the human being. It's only with the human being. The human being is the only one who has on one side the brain, and on the other side also that God is speaking with him. Moses, our sages are saying to us that everything that he had, it was because of the Hebrew people. And when the Hebrew people are doing the golden craft, God is telling Moses, go down. I don't want you. You're not in this level. Go down, go back, because all of your community that you're representing did this golden craft, or part of them, whoever it did it. Go down. I don't want any more connection with you, Moses. Moses is not one person. Moses is basically exploring the situation that God is speaking with us, with the Hebrew people. Now we need to realize, we need to understand what happened, that God stopped of speaking with the rest of the world, I will say with community, with the full community in another parts of the world, and stayed only with the Hebrew people. But if I will say it like that, there are 4 stages. There is the earth, then we have the plants, then we have the animals, okay? And then we have the human being. And the human being have 2 options inside him, 2 potentials inside him. On one side, the brain side. This is more or less coming up from the 4 before that. And another side, like Moses, that God will speak with him from the outside. And something happened that the rest of the world moved in between the animals and the Hebrew nation. Basically, in the potential, everybody is on the level of the Hebrew nation. And something happened there. I won't go inside to what all of the things that happened. You will read it in 95, we'll speak about this next week. But something happened there that part of the world, except for the Hebrew nation, went down one in between, I will say, the animals and the Hebrew people. Now this is on the level of the communities, of the groups of people, of the, not in the personal level. In the personal level, we said it more than once, everybody can be on the level of the Hebrew people. As the Eliah, the prophet said, that regardless if someone is with dark skin, with white skin, woman, man, whatever it is, it all depends on his behavior and the relation with God. On the personal level, people can be very righteous, even though they're not Hebrew people. Okay, maybe if they're living today in Russia, they need to rebellion against their government. Okay, fair enough. But and there are governments that are very very bad governments. Also in China. But sorry. But mainly, or the main part here that we need to realize is that everybody, in a personal level, everybody can come to this level of the Hebrew nation. He also can do conversion. Again, we're not recommending that, but he also can do that. Because we don't have any racism. The difference is in the soul side. The Hebrew people, because all sorts of reasons that you're going to read in 95, stayed in the level of Adam and Eve, okay? And the rest of the world moved, downgraded themselves a bit. They're not animals, not at all. They can do conversion. Okay, this is the proof that they're not animals. On a personal level, they can go very high. As a unit, as a community, only the Hebrew people stayed as a community part of God. And how much they stayed part of God? Look good, because it was written down, and we didn't even saw that it was written down inside. Okay. If we read it, 43 again, okay, those are some of the criticism of the prophets. Okay, that
All right, 43 says
Moses.
Yeah. These are some of the characteristics of the undoubted prophets through whom God made himself manifest, and who also made known that there is a God who guides them as he wishes according to their obedience or disobedience.
Just a moment. There are two things here. The second one, everybody knows, according to their obedience or disobedience. The meaning of this is, if you will listen to the words of God, he will give you good things, no? And if you won't listen to the words of God, he will punish you. Everybody knows that. The Christian world is being built up on this part of the sentence. They didn't obey God, God threw them out, okay? But there's something else that is written down here. He is guiding them as he wishes. What is the meaning of this? It is not related at all to their behavior.
Mazal.
It's more than mazal. Our sages are saying, and it's written down loud and clear in Yechezkel 19. Go and read it there, or 24 also. Okay? The Hebrew people in Egypt worshipped idolatry and were behaving badly, not less than the Egypt. So why God took them out and didn't took the Egyptians people outside from Egypt? Why God decided to take out the Hebrew people and not the...
Because of his covenant with Abraham.
Because there were times that he is guiding them on his wishes. You said it right. It was also the covenant. But it's not related to their behavior. There are two, I will say, principles that God is guiding those people. And now you're seeing that we're not speaking about Moses. We're speaking about the Hebrew nation as a community. Moses is showing, I will say, the potential of the Hebrew nation community. We're not speaking about one person. We're speaking about the community, the Hebrew people. And now, again, I'm going again. We have only 4 stages. 4 stages. The 4th stage is human being with the possibility of getting from God, from outside. Okay? The words of God. As is written down, straight ahead when in the first chapter of the Bible, before there is any Jewish community or any Hebrew community in the world. Okay? Something happened that part of the world, except for the Hebrew people, went one grade downwards, not to the animals, God forbid it, not to the animals. Again, animal, okay, the monkey can't do, monkey can't become Jewish, okay, he can convert, but very big difference, of course. Okay, every person in this world is not a monkey, okay, he's one step ahead, can convert, can go back. I will say it in a different, maybe I will try to give another parallel. There's some sort of an umbrella. Under the umbrella, okay, the Hebrew people have some sort of an umbrella to this world that is not only growing up from metals, plants, animals, you know, and the Hebrew people, but it's also giving an umbrella that is related with God that is speaking with us. And now we have the rest of the world, the rest of the people of the world that are outside because all sorts of reasons, not under the umbrella. Those who are joining the Hebrew people, those who did conversion on one way, and those who didn't do conversion, those who became Noahide, they are coming under the umbrella, and they're part of this thing. I hope I'm clear. I'm speaking here, and I hope I'm clear. A lot of, I will say, Hebrew people who are learning the Kuzari, saying, we have here 5 stages. Read 95 and you will see we have only 4. We don't have 5 stages. People don't understand exactly what the Kuzari is doing here. What he's doing here is speaking about something unique. Exactly, something unique that God is speaking with us from his side. I will show this for a moment in Exodus as a preparation for the 10 Commandments. I did a mistake, I'm sorry. Exodus 19. I changed it. Okay, in the first 6 verses here that God is giving us, I will say, some sort of introduction why he is giving us the 10 Commandments. So he's saying, as a concluding for this, he's saying in verses 5 and 6, please read them.
5, and now, if you obey me and keep my covenant, you shall be to me a treasure out of all peoples, for mine is the entire earth. And you shall be to me a kingdom of princes and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the children of Israel.
Okay, the word treasure here is being said in Hebrew, the word sgula. Sgula is something very unique. That's a treasure, okay? Now, this word sgula, this is exactly what the Kuzari is using. Now, here it says, only if you will obey me, you will be my treasurer. Where? In the earth, in this specific country. But here in the Kuzari is also showing us another way, as we said here, okay, like his wishes. I won't go inside. There are other verses that are speaking about his wishes and without any relation. You know what? I will give an example. Let's jump to an example, okay? Let's jump to Kings. Let's jump to Kings, Kings 2, chapter 6. Let's jump there. No, 7. No, it's not 6, it's 7. Maybe it's 8. Let's see. It was 6. It was the end of 6. Okay. At the end of 6, we have, it's a story about the students of the prophet Eliah, and we're speaking about Elisha, exactly. And now, in Elisha, in the days of Elisha, the king there in Israel was a very, he wasn't worshiping God. I will say it in a gentle way, okay? He was worshiping a lot of idolatry. And we have there the story that there was a very big famine because the kingdom of Aram, okay, Aram, they did a very big camp, and how do you say it? Besiege Samaria, and they didn't have anything to eat. And the king, they were very upset with Elisha that he's not praying for God, okay? And he wants to kill Elisha, and he can't kill Elisha because God is with him. And then in the next chapter, okay, in the next chapter, he's coming to Elisha, and Elisha is saying to him, look, God is going to do a miracle. What is a miracle? Please read verse number 1. We Kings 2, chapter 7, okay?
Verse 1, and Elisha said, hearken to the word of the Lord. So has the Lord said, at this time tomorrow, a seah of fine flour will sell for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley will sell for a shekel in the gate of Samaria.
Now, before that, we said that even to buy a head of a donkey was something like 60 or 80 shekel, okay? Very, very expensive. And you know that in the head, you don't have a lot of meat. And now he's saying, tomorrow. Now, there is someone there who is answering and saying that it can't be. Let's read verse number 2.
2. And the king's officer upon whose hand he would lean answered the man of God and said, Behold, if the Lord makes windows in the sky, will this thing come about? And he said, Behold, you will see with your own eyes, but you shall not eat therefrom.
And basically, he's right, this officer of the king. He's saying to him, look, even if God will take now rain, we need a bit of more time. You think it won't be able to become like this tomorrow morning, okay? And this is where Elisha is saying to him, you don't believe in what I'm saying. You will see it and you won't be able to enjoy from it. You will die. And what's happening is that God is frightening all this big enemy camp. They're all running away and they're leaving behind them all the food. And this is exactly what's happening. And this specific officer who didn't believe to the words of Elisha, so they all stepped on him. Well, they all killed him by stepping on him. There. But our sages are they're learning I will say it like that, they're learning the Bible in a different way that we are learning it. And it's written down here like that. Behold, if the Lord makes windows in the sky, right? And the meaning of this is even if God will take rain outside from sky now, it won't happen. But it's being written down in the Hebrew words like that, Arubot HaShamayim, the windows in the sky. This term, Arubot HaShamayim, let's not forget, the Bible was given in the Hebrew language, okay? And this term, Arubot HaShamayim, is being written down only twice in the Bible. It's being written down here, and it's being written down in Noach, in the flood, that God opened the windows of the sky and the flood came down. Okay? And our sages are saying that this officer of the king, he was a very, very frum guy. He believed in God. He was a very frum one. He was doing all the mitzvot, all the commandments, everything was great. And he said, are you serious? For this generation, God is going to do a miracle. Even for the generation of the flood, God didn't do any miracles. This generation is just like the flood. They are so horrible generation. God is going to kill them, all of them. And this is where Elisha said to him, you will see it and you won't be able to enjoy from this. You will die. Okay? And the meaning of this, and our sages are right, because in those days, they worshipped idolatry. And even though God did to them a very big miracle. This is an example, jumping back, that there are times that God is doing or guiding them as he wishes, regardless to their disobedience. Even though they were in a situation of disobedience, God decided in this point of time, because all sorts of reasons, I'm not going inside to all of this story, something that we need to learn once. Okay? But God is deciding to behave with them in his wishes regardless the situation of obedience or disobedience, because in those days they were in a situation of disobedience. So we have those two things, and Moses is representing a different dimension of community that is being guided with a divine, I will say, mindset that God appeared himself in front of them, and is guiding them. Now, this was supposed to be for all of the humankind, because all sorts of reasons they went a bit aside. They went out from the umbrella. So they need to come back. And this is how we're managing to bring them back to the umbrella. With the Noahide movement, there are some who are doing conversion, never mind. Okay, we're bringing them back. So if I'm summarizing, we're speaking about 4 stages. The rest of the human community went a bit aside, downgraded a bit, but they will manage to come back. And this is what Rabbi is trying to show, that this is why The 613 commandments is only for the Jewish people, but all of us could be in the stage that is related with God and to bring the world to this stage. I hope I was clear enough for tonight. You see that Rabbi Shmuel is here. I don't know if he's managing, if he have the possibility of speaking. I don't know. Rabbi Shmuel, with us?
Wow, well, that's quite profound, Rabbi. I think in our day and age, I mean, that example out of 2 Kings 6 and 7 there, we everybody around the planet's seen a lot of economic upheaval somewhat, and it gives people the peace of mind to understand Hashem's doing something that is according to his wishes, and it's not necessarily linked to your obedience or disobedience. So often people get in a mind trap that it's something that they did, and if they just adjust it, it'll correct it. But you got to look at the big picture and see that Hashem's moving along according to his plan. And we're just so happy that it includes the nation of Israel shining the light to the rest of the nations. And I think that's important.
Yes. I hope I was clear enough. Okay, fair enough. Rabbi Shmuel, you with us? Do you want to say something? I'm sorry that I kept you. I think that you said to me that you want to come inside a bit earlier. בעזרת השם מחר ב-10 נדבר, כן. Please, I'm closing my microphone and speak.
Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Rabbi Shmuel. He's on mute. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, I unmuted myself now. Yes. Okay. I'd like to relate to that passage of the disobedience, and especially the story from Kings 2, chapter 6, about Elisha, which you so eloquently read, Dan. I want to say that sometimes the disobedience or obedience is a matter of faith. And that's essentially what's happening over there. The Jewish people at the time of the story there in Kings are going through a major famine in Samaria. And therefore, the likelihood of finding such a cheap rate to buy their flour sounded absolutely ridiculous and certainly not realistic. And Elisha says there that the person who questioned it is going to actually see it happen, but he's not going to be able to benefit, because he actually presents a doubt about its reality. I think this outlook is so current and so meaningful in experience of the last 75 years in general, but even more so probably the last 50 years. And that is to be in a state of in challenging times. When things go easy, that's not a tremendous achievement.
I think we lost him.
Can you answer a question from YouTube, Rabbi?
Yes, of course. Yes,
Craig is asking a question. Rabbi, how will the nations know suddenly that all other religions are wrong, according to, say, Jeremiah 16 or Zechariah 8?
I don't think that things will... Rabbi Shmuel, we lost, just a moment, Rabbi Shmuel, we lost you, so if you can repeat back your things.
Do you hear now better? You should be
now
able
we
to
can
hear
you fine. Yes, now we can hear you fine. I will answer this later on. Okay, Dan, please.
Physically, I entered the house right now. So what I basically said is that when the rabbi quoted from Exodus 19 about the kingdom of priests and a holy nation, that was an ideal moment of the revelation where the Jews had reached such a level. And ultimately, the goal is to have that as a regular situation. True, but given that we are not always living in such idealistic circumstances, and to believe that that could happen even when before and things are far from perfect, that's the challenge that Elisha was going through. Because at that stage, there was a real famine. And at the time of a famine, to see that it could be plentiful in a very short time, if God decides that to be, is something which a real challenge of faith. nothing is taking that for granted, especially when you're talking about material possessions. Material possessions are something which sometimes you have and sometimes you don't. There's no guarantee that it's something that's going to continue. And I would like to say that you read about also the windows coming from heaven. That part I'm not sure I heard well enough if you mentioned, but it's mentioned the same expression of Arubot B'Shamayim that you mentioned is found in the flood, in the deluge in Genesis 7. And there, that was actually a sign of a punishment. And here in the story of Kings, it becomes out a story of salvation, a story of an amazing miracle and success. That is the greatness of our Lord, that he can take the same power that can be the source of stress and make it into the source of joy, happiness, and faith. That's something which I think is extremely important, because there are challenging times that we are undergoing now and we've undergone in the past. And to actually believe that the light will come through that tunnel and will be seen in the long run in absolute glory is something which is far from taken for granted. And as you know, in the Hebrew calendar, this time of the year, we are close to the morning of the destruction of the temple, the next 2.5 weeks. And yet there is faith and a reality today of a major revival, even if not to the extent of the glory that was, but there's a lot to strive to, but it's far more impressive than it was like a century ago, certainly 2 or 3 centuries ago. And I think this can give us a source of strength in general, just like sustenance. I mean, as Dan mentioned some time ago, we have now more than 8 billion people on the earth, and God is feeding everybody. And if just in the wealthy countries in the West, people wouldn't throw out so much food, there would be no needy people in Africa. If you just take from what's left over from so much waste of surplus that is available. That divine blessing, which is virtually unlimited, and nobody would have seen that to be a reality 200-300 years ago in any faith almost, is something which should be a guideline to our extreme grateful feeling towards God. And that's something I'd like to share with you, and it's something that we are grateful, and you should also be grateful of having that partnership with the Jewish people in trying to see that tremendous blessing that God is offering, something which for so many generations was not taken for granted and was not actually seen to the same degree. To be living in a time where we see a lot of the fulfillment of the vision of the prophets, things that for many years were hardly a dream and now they're a given reality, is something that we need to be grateful on a daily basis. And certainly when we have, even in our time, days that are challenging, we should always put things into perspective. Yes, there are challenging times, but let's look at the overall picture. And that's during Kings too. The situation was dreadful 20-30 years before that story is mentioned. And the prophet already sees a dramatic change will take place overnight, which means that God, just like there can be times when things are stressful, overnight he can change the situation to an amazing blessing. That's what I like to share with you. I think we need that obedience and disobedience that the Kuzari is talking about is also in the commitment to doing the commandments, but no less to being faithful to the mission God has given us. And indeed, one of the tremendous peaks of that mission was that revelation where we're meant to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That doesn't mean that it happens all the time. When we will be more obedient and more faithful, it's going to happen, and it does happen. And that's something that we should try to share that marvel of God with other people, but understanding that it's more than all demanding of us. It's not like in Christianity that you think you give just a blessing like that, and there's nothing hollow, nothing practical that you have to do. By us in order for this to happen, much action, active work of commandments and real faith, not verbal talk, which is hollow and baseless. It's got to be something with content, real, something which is tangible. That's the type of faith we're talking about. And that requires a lot of study, a lot of serious understanding, and a good perspective of history. So you're welcome to come.
Rabbi, that reminds me of Pirkei Avot I was reading this morning, where it is stated, it is not incumbent upon us to complete the work, but neither are we at liberty to desist from it. And so that kind of ties in a little bit. So it's not incumbent upon us to complete the entire task. We need to understand that we can play a very small role, but that role has impact. We don't have that liberty to desist from it. And I think the point of having Emunah is very necessary at all times, for sure, that even in adverse situations, I love how you stated that Hashem can take that adverse situation and make it a great source of joy, and very important. So we don't have the liberty to desist at any moment, but it's not incumbent upon us to carry everything on our shoulders as if it's all our responsibility. But we can't think for a moment we have nothing to do.
Can't disregard it in any moment.
Right. Right. Does anybody else have any questions?
No,
or comments?
you had a question. You started to ask me, and then suddenly Rabbi Shmuel came back. If you want to ask the question again, I will refer to that.
Okay. The question was from Craig on YouTube. Craig said, Rabbi, how will the nations know suddenly that all other religions are wrong? He's citing from Jeremiah 16, verses 19 to 21, and Zechariah 8, 22.
I am against the word suddenly. The word suddenly,
right,
is
rather than some organic notion. Yeah,
it will take step by step. Who said that suddenly? The understanding of suddenly something will come from outside, like an alien, or a miracle. This is where you lost hope from people and from this world. We do have hope, and we do believe in people. It will take time. Not everybody, not straight ahead, not suddenly. Okay. If it will become suddenly, it won't. I will say like that. It won't.
So no instant paradigm shift.
Nature won't. In Jeremiah, it's not saying suddenly. In Jeremiah, it's saying that people will acknowledge that it was all lie, things that our parents told us. But here's what's written down there. The word suddenly is not written down there. Okay? It's not, the word suddenly is saying basically that it's like some sort of a miracle, but miracle is contradicting the nature. Nature have some sort of a progress. Now, our world today believe that the world, grew up in a progress. Okay, you can't say that we want to give some sort of a redemption to the world, but to leave the side of nature. The nature is very upset for that. Nature also wants to become part of this redemption. So things will take step by step. What we're doing here in the Noahide World Center, we're doing it step by step. By the way, tonight, before we started this thing, and after now, we're doing this thing, there's 2 or 3 days of some sort of a seminar in the United States, and there are a lot of Noahide people there that they're all the time trying to speak with me through a few people that are in this seminar there in the United States, in Dallas or something like that in Texas. Step by step. Who said that suddenly? Everything is supposed to be suddenly? Why? Because this is what other religion believe. We believe that the world, and we have, I will say, we also trust the world and the people of the world. So maybe it will take more than one generation. It will take a few years. But still, who said that it's going to be suddenly?
Rabbi, through
Let's wait.
through the last few weeks with Rabbi Ingber, who we've been getting into some political discussions a little bit, but I think there will be a mindset change, especially when it comes to the question of war. And sadly, there are many people out there that actually think war is good for economy, and war is not good for nothing, absolutely nothing. I think that's a good place to start for an instant or a suddenly mindset if people realize that war is not good for the economy.
I agree with you that there will be differences in the mindset. Okay, for example, we are living I will say, in a period of time that we're moving from a mindset without the internet and a mindset with the internet. Young kids who grew up, what we call the Z generation, the Y Z generation, they grew up with we who grew up without any internet, and the young generation who grew up, who never grew up without any internet in the world, are two different mindsets. The same thing with the Chat GPI. Okay, those who will grow up now with this Chat GPT, GTP4, they will have different mindsets. So there are also jumps from time to time, but it won't happen suddenly. It will take the time, and people need to adjust. And it's a movement that people are moving, especially when we're speaking about beliefs. It's taking time to the world to realize that the Hebrew nation came back to the homeland. We're already 75 years in Israel, and not all of the world said, okay, so we need to change our mindset. It's working slowly but surely, not suddenly. And according to our work, you said it before, from the saying of the Father, ethics of the Father. On one side we have no possibility to say that we don't need to work. On the other side, we need to work, even though we won't be able to complete or to accomplish all the mission that we took on ourselves. So we need to all the time to work hard on one side.
Right. So the idea of suddenly is just too big of a piece of pie to digest, for sure. Yeah. I mean, so you eat a steak one bite at a time, right?
It's exactly. It's not a Jewish idea. This suddenly.
Wow. Excellent stuff. Thank you so much, Rabbi Goldberg. Does anybody else in the Zoom meeting have any questions for Rabbi Shmuel or for Rabbi Goldberg?
Fair enough. Everything is fine. Next week, 95. Don't forget.
Rabbi Craig says he's so grateful for correction on that suddenly question. He's always understood those passages the same way as Isaiah 53, when nations understand Hashem's servant is Israel, not their idol. He won't say suddenly again, so he appreciates the answer. Thank you very much.
Fair enough.
Well, if nobody else has any questions for Rabbi Hirschler or Rabbi Goldberg, shall we wind it down? Is you sure? Last chance for any comments. Collins, Angela, and Mike, Chantal, so good to see you. Jacobi, have you got any comments you want to share with the rabbis or questions? Seems like everybody's quiet today, Rabbi.
We knocked you all. Fair enough. Well, everything is fine.
Our friend Barbara over in Germany, she says Mashiach will open their eyes.
Hopefully, but it's also taking time that the Mashiach will come.
Everything is a process and it's gradual. It's like in my olden days when you wanted to drive from Chicago to Detroit. You can do it in 2 hours if you get on the right highway. Sometimes when you're on the way, you get onto a dirt road and it takes much longer.
So, for sure, Rabbi. I just, here in the West, everybody's getting so caught up on this instant mindset. We want everything now, and we want it right now. Not now, but right now. And, they think they should order a package on Amazon and it'd be there in an hour. And Yeah. I live
Especially
off
as-
of a main highway, and so it always takes extra long to get to me. So you got to plan these things out and think about it. Yeah,
That's right.
don't let your mind
right.
slide into traps of immediate gratification.
Correct.
Fair enough. We all have a week now, yeah, for adjusting things and to accept. I will give something that happened fast. Okay, the 6 Day War, for example. In 6 days, suddenly, the Hebrew nation conquered back the places of the Bible, and it took only 6 days. Now, it could have been also a long, yes, but it happened suddenly. The time came, it happened suddenly. But still, it was 6 days. Until today, in the Hebrew nation, we are trying to adjust exactly this gift that we got so fast. It's very hard. All the debates that you have here today in Israel are related with this question: what exactly to do with this gift? Such a very important land on one side, with a lot of non-Jewish Arab people there in the other side, and how exactly to deal with this. So we got it suddenly. There's also a price for the suddenly. We need to know that.
Right.
Fair
And
enough.
like you mentioned with the internet, I mean, people can learn something very fast in this day and age that, if you go back 75 years ago, I mean, it would take weeks for a story to just circulate around the planet. And if you go back a couple hundred years, I mean, people wouldn't hear about stories for months and months and years after an event happened. And in our day and age, things can happen. Somewhat awareness of something can happen quite instantly, which is profound. We never have a day like that. Byers has got his hand up. Byers, if you got a question you want to ask, can you unmute yourself?
Yes. It's not really a question. It's if you observe history, let's say from the Second World War, there was actually a time where it was almost like an insult to the world to be a Jew. Okay. And that is when this Nazi stuff and that happened. And then what happened was organizations like Jews for Jesus and that came into place. And guess what happened? It draws more Gentiles to the Jewish faith than the effect that they want to convert Jews to Jesus. All of a sudden, you can actually say that was the suddenly moment. Everybody wants to become closer to the Jewish nation or either convert or so I see it as the suddenly moment. Yes, it progresses. I mean, in
academia,
last,
they call it a cascade.
There was a time when it was the most unpopular. I mean, I think it's Rabbi Tobias Singer who said that he grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and that time you get intimidated if you were Jewish and so on. And now today, here we sit, we are all Gentiles who love Judaism, and it's kind of that instant mindset that somebody see, hey, but God is with the Jewish people. That is maybe that instant that started. I just want to say that.
Oh, fair enough. We agree.
Yeah. So we play a part in the cascading effect for sure, and you can do that by making the world a better place little by little, and things will develop for sure.
Yes.
All right. If nobody else has
That's
any
all
other
I want to
comments,
say.
since we're quiet for today, We're getting comments online about 500 days since the war in Ukraine began, and yeah, we look forward to the day where men will no longer learn war, for sure. Well, Rabbi, if we're done for today, I think you reminded us to read part 95 in the Kuzari for next week. Are you okay for next week, Rabbi? Aiming for next week?
Hopefully everything will be on the time and schedule.
We'll work it out for sure. Yes.
Yes.
All right, folks. Well, that'll be our Genesis class for today. Excellent material. We all have an important part to play, and it's always a joy to hear the wisdom of Torah coming out of the nation of Israel, especially out of Jerusalem. It means a lot to me. It always seems to be of more weight because that's what Isaiah prophesied out of Zion for sure. And I love it. It's great. So feel free to share this video on social media. Make sure you like that button. And until next week, have a great week, everybody. Bye for now.